If you're gonna teach it right. If you're gonna preach it life.
Right! The heretics, they scrutinize. Mentally, they euthanize. Paint the face of Christ and now the papacy's a new disguise. They don't divide the word, but divide the people choosing lies. Gain the world and lose your soul. Welcome to your funeral. Crime, Yeshua, crime. It's about the time to let them have it like a cold addiction. Cause the lies they spread are fairy tale and they are more than fiction. Scattering the sheep is the devil's one and only mission. Put a puppet on the stage, confusion is the sole intention. Woe to the pastors and the teachers, only preachers.
To the Most High God, in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. We are the sector of the refiners, out here to refine our people, right? Out here to put them through the fire, right? The Word of God, and to show and prove to them that they are the Israelites of the Bible. And we're going to go into this lesson real quick about proving our Sabbath, right? No shade to any brothers who follow the Friday to Saturday night Sabbath, right? Coincidentally, we're on the Friday to Saturday night Sabbath because we follow what's called a Lunar Sabbath, right? We use the Bible, archaeology, and history to prove that we follow a lunar cycle, right? Because God has given us things to follow in the sky, right? Being the moon, the sun, and the stars, on how to determine time. And we'll get to that in a second, right? But the Friday to Saturday Sabbath is based off of Satan's calendar, right? The current calendar that we follow is the Gregorian calendar, right? The Gregorian calendar was established, let me get you the date for it, and introduced in 1582, right? It was to correct inaccuracies in the Julian calendar, which was before that, especially regarding leap years. In 1582, Pope Gregory the 13th introduced the Gregorian calendar, replacing the Julian calendar and implementing a change where Thursday, October 4th, was followed by Friday, October 15th. So literally one day change skipped 10 days on the calendar, right? Or 11 days, right? Effectively, it says skipping 10 days to realign the calendar with a solar year. The sun does not tell you the day. The moon was created to have a monthly cycle, right? Just like our women, they go through a monthly cycle. The moon goes through a monthly cycle, right? We'll get into a little bit more history, right? According to the legend, right, the founder of Rome instituted the calendar in about 738 BC, dating the system, this dating system, however, was probably a product of evolution from the Greek lunar calendar, which in turn was derived from the Babylonian captivity, right? The Babylonians, right? Early Romans used an 8-day week and noonday with a market day on the 9th day, right? But the 7-day week was influenced by Hellenistic astrology and the Judeo-Christian tradition gained popularity and was officially adopted by Emperor Constantine in 321 CE. So we see that the calendar system that we have used and the one that we use now has changed over 3 times since clocking a calendar system, right? On top of that, right, the Gregorian calendar from one day on Thursday from October 4th, October 5th should have been that Friday, but no, it went all the way to October 15th, showing you that Friday and Saturday has not been a consecutive 7-day week since just this calendar alone, right? So Friday to Saturday Sabbath is nowhere near a biblical way to prove the cycle of our Sabbath, right? The 7th day, as they call it, right? I got you, right? And what else? That just shows you, right, that the days already haven't been consistent, right? This is the noonday. The ancient Romans initially used an 8-day cycle, or noonday, where the 9th day was a market day for trade and public assemblies. This is already not on a 7-day week. It's an 8-day week or a 9-day week. So there's no way from these calendars we could have a non-stop continuous 7-day cycle, right? Even right here in America, the 7th day here is Saturday. In China, the 7th day is Sunday. So if we have Israelites here in America following the Friday to Saturday Sabbath, then we have Israelites in China, because we're scattered to the 4 corners of the earth, celebrating their Sabbath on Saturday to Sunday. So what is the correct day, and how do we determine the correct time? It's very simple, by the moon. Give me Daniel 7:25, right? Actually, I got a little bit more, but give me Daniel 7:25, and give me 1 Corinthians 14:33, and then give me Genesis 1:14, right? Get all those loaded up in the clip. All right, the Julian calendar, right, comes after the Roman calendar, right? The Julian calendar introduced, excuse me?
What's that noise?
Daniel, 1 Corinthians 14:33, Genesis 1:14. The Julian calendar, introduced in 45 BC by Julius Caesar, spans from 46 BC, is a solar calendar that approximates the solar year with a 365-day cycle and the leap years every 4 years. It was used throughout the Roman Empire during the early church and life of Jesus Christ. The Julian calendar was designed to better match the solar calendar. Okay, and then after the Julian calendar, the Julian calendar was then replaced by the one that we follow today, which is the Gregorian calendar. All right, now give me Daniel.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25.
Bring it out.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints.
This is talking about our oppressor, right? He shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints. We have been worn out, right? Read.
Of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
Times and laws since the biblical times have been changed, and we can witness that just from these 3 calendar systems that we have used colloquially, right, around the world, right? And laws as well, right? Where we know that in this society here in Mystery Babylon, right, the great whore, as we call her, right, a lot of the laws of God are neglected, right? So these laws have been changed. Our times have been changed to only further our confusion and get our people further and further away from God.
And think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
Right. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Give me Corinthians.
Corinthians
14:33.
Oh, it's saying they changed how we identify the time?
The different calendar systems. Right?
14:33.
Yeah.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14 and verse 33. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints.
So our God, man, he is not the author of confusion. He gave us things that way we could clock the times. That way we could keep track of the times, right? He's not over here changing the calendar whenever he feels like it. He's not over here changing laws whenever he feels like it, right? God's word is perfect and does not need to be changed, man, right? God set up a system for us to follow, and it should not have been changed. But this is his movie, and he does what he wills, man. So I don't question it.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? That's it on that?
Yeah.
Give me Genesis. 1 Corinthians 14 and 33, right? God is not the author of confusion.
Right.
Right? And what does Babylon mean? Babylon literally means confusion. Here in America, we live in a state of confusion where men can think they're women and women can think they're men.
That's right.
Right? Madness.
Right.
Right? But back to the lesson about this lunar Sabbath, man, because I don't want to get off tangent.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 14. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night."
So we know those lights that divide the day from the night is the sun and the moon, right? This is what God gave us to identify, because he is not the author of confusion to where we switch them and then we call the day night and night day, right?
All right.
But go ahead and read that from the top.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 14. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs."
For signs, something to identify, read.
"And for seasons."
If you pay attention, the moon is not always in the direct same spot in the sky. The sun is not always in the direct same spot in the sky. It changes. Just as you're standing here in 6 months, say the moon is here, the sun is here, it might be over here at the same exact time. Why is that? Because it's showing you that throughout the year that it's gonna change in the sky for a sign. That way you can know what month you're in if you're really tracking it like that, right? The tribe of Issachar were men of understanding the times. They knew how to use the stars, how to navigate with the stars, how to tell time with the moon, right? Or time with the sun, right? You can take a look at the sun, and wherever it's at on the horizon, you take your hand like this and you count your hands down, and that'll tell you how many hours are left of sunlight. You can literally do that, right? Read.
"And for days and years."
Give me the word moon, right? Give me the word moon in the Hebrew, right? Because it's obviously important for us to go into this and learn the truth about the Bible. It's important for us to go into the original language that we were given, right? To get the true understanding about the Bible, right? Go ahead and read that.
So this is Strong's H 23 and 20. The word is Kodesh. The outline of the biblical usage is the new moon, month, monthly, the first day of the month, the lunar month.
So the new moon is the first day of the month, right? So go back into, actually now you can give me Ecclesiasticus 43 and 6.
So this is the book of Sirach, chapter 43 and verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season.
Right, the moon is to serve in her seasons, just like in Genesis 1 and 14, right? It says the lights in the firmament are for signs and for seasons. Read.
For a declaration of times and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of the feast.
That's why we have a new moon feast, right? The first new moon is the Sabbath day, right? And that Sabbath day we congregate. We get together before the sun goes down. That way we can prepare prior to the Sabbath, right? Then we go into the new moon, we feast, and we enjoy the Sabbath day as a holy convocation, right? Go ahead.
A light that decreaseth in her perfection. Salaki.
So if the moon is perfect, meaning it's going to be full and bright. The moon being dark would not make sense of it being perfect, right? Right? Everything is started in darkness. So if it says a light that decreaseth in her perfection, meaning the halfway in between the month is going to be a perfect full moon, which is going to be bright, right? So it decreases in her perfection. Read.
The month is called after her name.
The month is called after her name, right? So that's why we got the word new moon, right? Kodesh, which means new moon, month, the first day of the month. So the new moon is literally the first day of the month, right? Read.
Increasing wonderfully in her changing.
It increases wonderfully in her changing. From a full moon, some arguments say that the full moon is the new moon. If it increases wonderfully in her changing, that means it starts from zero. It does not start from a whole. It starts from the dark moon, right? That is the new moon, which starts and increases wonderfully in her changing. Read.
Increases wonderfully in her changing. Being an instrument of the armies above shining in the firmament of heaven.
And so that, and give me Ezekiel 46:1 and give me Amos 8:5, right? And those would be the last two. Right, so Ecclesiastes 43:6, right? The moon was made to serve in her season as a declaration of times, right? It decreases, it's a light that decreases in her perfection, meaning halfway through the month it will be full and decrease. Verse 8, it says, increasing wonderfully in her changing, meaning that it's starting as a dark moon, increasing to a half, increasing to a full, and then it decreases back to the end of the month. And that's how we have our days, right? Our Hebrew calendar days are between 28 and 30 days, right? That's the Hebrew calendar. Technically 30, but we have what are, defined as transitional days, right? Because we didn't have a calendar system to go off of. We didn't have days of each month to go off of. Day one was the new moon, which is the dark moon. And then we had people who would count the days on a calendar, right? And watch the moon in her changing in order to understand when the next new moon would come, right? And even some of the years, I'm not exactly sure how to go into it, it's something I gotta learn. Sometimes we had 13 months instead of 12 months, right? And that's just, for edification purposes, right? So, give me Ezekiel 46, right? Because here we are proving that the lunar Sabbath is the true and biblical Sabbath, okay? Read that.
It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 46 and verse 1. Thus saith the Lord God, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days.
So the gate in the temple, right, that faces toward the east is going to be shut 6 working days. There is only 7 days in a week. Right. So what is that 7th day?
But on the Sabbath, it shall be opened.
On the what?
On the Sabbath, it shall be opened.
So the 6 working days, the gate is shut. And on the Sabbath, it is open. Read.
And in the day of the new moon, it shall be opened.
So in this verse, there are 2 times that the gate is open in the inner court that looketh to the east. 6 days, 6 working days it's shut. The Sabbath and the new moon, it's open. What does that mean? What does that mean? Huh? What does it mean? What does it mean that the gates of the inner court, it's open in the Sabbath and it's open in the new moon? What does that mean? It correlates both of them together, right? The new moon is the Sabbath, right? Because if the gate of the inner court is shut 6 days and it's open on the 7th day, right? It's correlating the Sabbath being the 7th day and the new moon being a day in itself, right? Those are both the same day because there's not 8 days in our calendar, right? The gate's not open twice a week. It's only open once a week. So this verse right here, right in Ezekiel 46 is kingdom connotation, meaning in the kingdom, This is how Christ is going to be coming in through that gate, right? This is Christ's gate, right? He's going to be bringing in his sacrifices through this gate, bringing them to the temple. Once you read further into this chapter, showing you that he's bringing his sacrifice on the Sabbath and in the new moon, which is the same day, because the gate is only open one day a week. So the Sabbath and the new moon cannot be working days, obviously, right? Once you read this, literally one verse.
Right.
All right, give me Amos 8 and 5. Amos 8 and 5, and then this is, I'll ask if there's any questions.
This is the book of Amos, chapter 8, in verse 5, saying, when will the new moon be gone, Salakia, that we may sell corn?
So these people here are asking, when will the new moon be gone that we may sell corn? What can you not do on the Sabbath?
Buy or sell.
Buy and sell, right? So these people are asking, when is the new moon going to be gone? That way they can sell. Read.
And the Sabbath.
And what?
And the Sabbath.
Again, correlating both of them together. When will the new moon be gone and the Sabbath? Right? These 2 days are known in the Bible as to represent one day. Now, we do have 4 Sabbaths a month, but the new moon is a Sabbath. And that's how we track our Sabbath, by the moon, right? Read.
That we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great,
Falsifying.
and falsifying the balance by deceit.
Right? Pretty much, when will the new moon be gone that we may sell corn, right? And the Sabbath. And this time they were falsifying the balances, right? They were being deceitful among our people, right? Using what's the word you said?
Fraudulent.
Fraudulent. Yeah, that's a word, right? There's a law on this though. And I got a brain fart right now, so. But that's pretty much how we prove the lunar Sabbath, right? Using the Bible, right? Using history, right? There's archaeological evidence of a tablet that they had where they would use to count the days, and there was room for additional days if they needed them, but sometimes whoever was keeping track would know where to put what day because you had somebody with the knowledge to know, hey, obviously we can't see the moon in the sky, right? But there's a sliver. There's like it goes from a sliver, then it disappears, you know what I'm saying? Then you don't see it. And that's why you're like, all right, well, when is the new moon going to be gone? So that way we don't break a law by selling on the Sabbath. Does that make sense?
So the nail in the coffin is that the intercourse.
The nail in the coffin is, Ezekiel 46. Yeah, because that's kingdom connotation, showing you, if you need to stretch, you can go ahead. Stretch off on the side.
Go ahead.
The nail in the coffin, is Ezekiel 46, man. You can't get around it. You can't get by it. There's more, right, evidence, right? If you go into 1 Samuel, David hides in the field on the new moon. If you ever been, in the woods and you have a full moon, it's damn near daylight outside. You're not hiding in damn near daylight, right? When I was in Afghanistan, right, walking throughout the fields in the pitch black of the night, we would make sure that the moon was not full when we were walking, because you are just a silhouette walking across, an open ass field. You can see for hundreds of feet. It's bright as hell, right? Even over in winters where I live now, it's damn bright as hell outside, right? But when you get into these cities and stuff like that, you can't really see like that because all these lights drowned out everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's how David hid in the field, right? He was missed on the new moon. He hid in the field. Jonathan was his homie, right? Gave him signs if he was going to shoot an arrow, if he was safe or if he, wasn't safe. Then he came out 3 days later, right? And there's more about that story, but that's pretty much that'll wrap it up.
If you're gonna teach it right. If you're gonna preach it life.
Right! The heritage Heretics, they scrutinize. Mentally, they euthanize. Paint the face of Christ and now the papacy's the new disguise. They don't divide the word, but divide the people choosing lies. Pain the world and lose your soul. Welcome to your funeral. It's about the time to let them have it like a cold addiction. Cause the lies they spread are fairy tale and they are more than fiction. Scattering the sheep is the devil's one and only mission. Put a puppet on the stage, confusion is the sole intention. Woe to the